Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III.
Hello, Mack Pack. It's great to be back with you for another exciting episode of On the Move with Mack Worley. I, of course, am your host, Mack Worley III, and it is fantastic to be back with you. It's been a little while. It's been about, a little bit more than a month or so? Something like that? I got to tell you, I have missed the hell out of doing this show. I really have. Just to give you a little bit of update about things going on in my life here, still fully planning on doing the show. Took a little break here, little staycation, so to speak, and I'm back. So things didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to with today's show. I wanted to come back with a big reopening here and get the live video broadcast. I want to do live video broadcasting from YouTube as well as on Spreaker. If you enjoy the audio version of this podcast, that's great. Nothing's going to change. It's all still going to be there. Going to still be available for you to listen to live. Going to be available on Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow for you to listen to on the archive if you missed the episode live. But also, we're going to add an extra element to it. I want to get it to the point, and I've been having nothing but trouble with this. And as you all may be aware, if you're longtime listeners, I'm not very technologically savvy. So, I've been having nothing but trouble with this software here that you need to apparently stream from YouTube. But I'm going to figure it out. Don't worry about it. And we'll get the live video podcast happening at the same time. That way you can see what's going on in studio. I think it adds another element of it. I'm really excited about that, and I want to talk to you about the future of this show. I want to take more time here to really get out and talk with people. That's going to be a big part of my focus here for the rest of this year. I'm working on getting a cameraman to go with me up to different areas where I think there's going to be a lot of people, and I just want to talk to people, and I want to see what people are thinking. My biggest concern here, and if you're new to the show and you don't know what we do here, let me just quickly explain. We talk about all sorts of things here. We talk about politics, yes. We also focus heavily on philosophy, and part of that philosophy, I talk about the non-aggression principle. If you don't know what that is, it essentially boils down to don't hurt others, don't steal their stuff. It's immoral to do that. So we talk about civil rights, guns, government, culture, current events, and of course we talk about people. But we try not to focus so heavily on just the people and try to turn things into a conversation that's a few levels deeper than just talking about, oh, he said this or she said this. We try to apply things through the lens of the libertarian philosophy. And I'm not a full-fledged libertarian. I'm not a libertarian with a big L. I don't affiliate myself with any particular party. I suppose you could call me an independent, but that's just the way things go. But I'm a libertarian in philosophy. I have some conservative leanings, but I try to give you my take on what's happening in the world through that lens. I make no qualms about my biases. I try to present everything from a fact-based standpoint. And if you have any issues with things that I'm saying, you can always give us a call. The number to the show is 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. I would much rather have a dialogue with you than a monologue, but, I always come prepared to speak. So, the future of the show, I want to make this more palatable because I understand, I get it. 3 hours, a 3-hour show. When we go on a 3-hour show, that's a big commitment for a lot of people. And in today's society, I think I was reading a study. This is probably about a year or two ago, that said that the average person has a shorter attention span than a goldfish. And I'm not saying that's you, MacPack out there. I'm not saying that's you. But a 3-hour show is a big commitment to a lot of people, and I want to turn this into a way that we can basically have little bite-sized segments on YouTube from the show, so people can come in, and if you just want to see that clip, if you just want to see one specific topic, I want to get that set up for you guys, so you can just quickly view that one topic. I want to have the show available in its entirety for you to view through YouTube, so you can see what's happening in studio here. And also for those of you who are podcast listeners like myself, by the way, I happen to subscribe to many podcasts, and I like to listen to my podcast on the go. So I would prefer that method rather than viewing it through video. But some people are different. I just want to make it easier for people and more palatable for people, because I don't want us to forget what the goal here is. Why am I doing this? Why do I spend Sundays talking into this microphone? Why do I spend so much time and energy doing this? It's certainly not for my health. Following this stuff has made my blood pressure go up quite a few notches, I'm sure. So why do I do it? Is it for all the money that I'm making? I'm just rolling around in a big gold vault full of coins like Scrooge McDuck? No. You make very little money off of YouTube if you're not one of the huge people on there. And I'm not. This is admittedly the biggest, smallest show on the internet. So, well, then why do I do it? What is this about? The reason why I do this is because, first of all, I happen to care. I actually believe in the things that I talk about. I'm not just up here spouting off talking points and not understanding what, first of all, they mean or what the consequences of those talking points are. And I'm not just doing it because I'm carrying water for some politician who I've never met and doesn't give a crap about me or you. The reason why I do this is because I truly do believe that liberty is the answer to the vast majority of our problems. Now, it's free will, allowing you to do what you want without having some third party come in and inhibit you, without having somebody use force against you or threaten to use force against you for doing something that doesn't hurt anyone and doesn't take anyone's stuff. I happen to believe that that's the best, first of all, form of government to allow people to be free. But secondly, I happen to believe that it's the most prosperous way that we can live our lives. And it's also the most free. And I ask this question frequently. Do you want to be more free or less free? Because your current levels of freedom aren't static. Freedom doesn't stay still. You don't just maintain one specific level of freedom. It's either getting eroded or you're building at it. You're either making it better or it's getting worse. And it takes you strenuous effort to maintain the levels of liberty that you already have. Just imagine yourself, all right? You're standing on an escalator going down, but you're facing up. So if you just stand there, you're going to continue to lose ground. You have to continue to make strides. You have to continue pushing forward. It may get hard. You may not like it. You might sweat in the process. You might cry. You might even bleed. But the only way that we're going to maintain our liberty is to continue making strides and pushing constantly. Anyway. So we got an action-packed show for you today. I don't think we're going to go quite as long. I think I'm going to try to start thinning down our episode lengths a little bit. And I'm mulling this over. I'm trying to figure out how I can fit this in my schedule. If perhaps I can do multiple shows per week, just shorter, instead of being 3-hour shows. And we have the option if things happen, we can go a little longer than expected. But I'm looking at right now trying to figure out how I can squeeze in 3 1-hour shows per week. And anyway, I'm curious what you guys have to say about that. if you like the way the show is right now with 1 3-hour episode, if you'd prefer it to be 1 or 3 1-hour episodes spread across the week, I haven't heard from you guys on this, so I would really appreciate it if you guys would give me some feedback and let me know what you'd like and what you like about the show now, what you'd like to see us doing in the future. Any of your thoughts, comments, complaints, anything like that, feel free to get a hold of us. The show number is 360-450-5625. Again, that is 360-450-5625. You can also message me on Twitter at OnTheMoveShow, or you can get us on Facebook, facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we have a shop on our website. It's OnTheMoveShow.com. By the way, you can listen to the show there, OnTheMoveShow.com. We've got a web player up at the top of the screen. You can listen there every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also check out the archive. The archive is located at Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow, but on our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. There's a shop link up there. If you click it, you can see all of our originally designed products for you. We got an Amazon store on there. Got lots of interesting products there as well. Things that I myself have either bought or want to buy, or things like that. These are things that I recommend, and feel free to check them out. Like books, I got like tactical backpacks, all sorts of stuff, like water storage, food preparation stuff, all this kind of stuff. So anyway, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to go over there on TheMoveShow.com, click the shop link, and see if there's anything that you want. I don't want your charity. All right. If you want something, I'm a capitalist. If you want something, let's enter into a mutually beneficial contract here. You want the services or goods that I provide? Great. And if not, that's fine too. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and cut to our first commercial break of the day. When we come back, we're going to dive right into the first feature topic of the day. I want to talk about North Korea test firing another ballistic missile. The U.S. This is according to the U.S. and South Korea. I also, later in the show, I want to get into how Mark Zuckerberg has been the latest to voice his support for universal basic income. We're going to tear into that. And then I want to talk about how the government is the source of most of our problems. I want to identify some of these problems and explain why they are the creation of these problems. So we got that and a whole bunch more that we're going to talk about today. So please stay tuned. You guys don't want to miss what's coming up next. We'll be right back.
Have you visited the On the Move with Mack Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our homepage. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bear Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our homepage. Your purchases will help make the On The Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On The Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III.
All right, we're back. So, we're going to talk about North Korea. And by the way, this episode is titled NoKo Says YOLO. Anyway, okay, so we've got a lot of things to discuss when it comes to North Korea. First of all, you all probably know my position on this. Look, I don't like war. I've never been a fan of war. I would like to avoid war at all costs. However, I also understand that North Korea cannot be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon that is capable of reaching the United States. All right? They already have nukes, but what they're working on right now is the ability to launch them to the mainland of the United States. We're hearing reports now that North Korea may be able to reach as far as Hawaii. And today, this is a breaking story today. This was just about a half hour ago, maybe 40 minutes ago, that this was released. North Korea test fires another ballistic missile. So I have a clip. We're going to go ahead and play it. Here it is.
North Korea apparently has tested an unidentified projectile. That's how it's being characterized. The latest provocation by Pyongyang, and the North has been relentless in testing these ballistic missiles over the past several weeks. It almost feels like once a weekend. Well, South Korea's president has now ordered a meeting of his country's National Security Council for the morning. This follows the report that the North tested a new anti-aircraft system as well this week. And David McKenzie is joining us by the phone. David, what more can you tell us about this new projectile launch of some sort?
Well, Anna, this happened just moments ago, it appears, from the eastern part of the Korean peninsula, Pyongyang testing yet another projectile of some kind, potentially a ballistic missile from the eastern coastline, heading in an easterly direction towards Japan. We don't know much at this stage, but what we do know, this has been a relentless series of tests of ballistic missiles and similar military assets by Kim Jong-un in recent weeks, and despite the Trump administration calling on the regime to stop these tests and calling on China to help, it seems very little at this stage can be done to try and curb these efforts. So the long-term efforts appear to be the regime trying to put a nuclear warhead on, or test the capability of a nuclear warhead on one of these ballistic missiles, and it's certainly having people worried in this region. What we do, though, now know in the last few minutes, this projectile was tested. South Koreans scrambling together a meeting, and I'm sure the same will be happening in Japan at this hour.
So, does North Korea... Oh, excuse me, it's about to play something. Does North Korea have a right to have a nuclear weapon? Oh, here we go. It's
one thing
again. Live radio, gotta love it. Does North Korea have a right to obtain a nuclear weapon that is capable of reaching the United States? Should we just allow them? Do they have a right to be armed with this technology? Look, I'm all for the right to bear arms, and I'm not for trying to stop people from being able to defend themselves. The issue here is the amount of rhetoric that they're saying. I think it's foolish for us to ignore people with their words. Just ignore what they're saying. If we just say, oh, you know what, they've threatened to kill us. They've threatened to annihilate us. No big deal. Let them do what they want. I've given this analogy, and I'll give it again probably a couple thousand more times. But just humor me if you've heard this. Imagine yourself, you're in a dark alley, all right? You are the most the most overzealous activist when it comes to the right to bear arms. You absolutely believe that every individual has a right to bear arms. But you're in a dark alley. And in the dark alley, there's a man who's threatening to kill you. It's a big guy. He's like 2 times bigger than you are. And this guy is saying he's going to kill you with the gun that is on the ground at his feet. Does that guy have a right to be armed? Yes, he does. Sure he does. But would it be suicide to allow that man to pick it up? Yes, it would. Especially if you listen to his words and you believe that his threats are credible. Would he have the ability to kill you once he had that gun? Yeah. Does he have the desire? Well, he said so. That's really the only thing that we can go off of what he's going to do once he gets that gun. I happen to believe and subscribe to Martin Luther King's philosophy of, don't just judge somebody based upon, their appearances, i.e. the color of their skin or, what they look like in general, but judge them based upon the content of their character and furthermore their actions. So, in this situation, do you allow this man who's saying that he's going to kill you with the gun at his feet, do you allow him to pick that up? Of course you wouldn't. Of course you wouldn't. And if you do, you would be a fool. Pardon me, I'm sorry, but that would be a foolish thing to do. So, how much damage could one of North Korea's weapons do? I have another clip on this.
You need to know about North Korea's nuclear weapons. They're only becoming more dangerous. Each nuclear test, each missile launch, only brings North Korean leader Kim Jong-un closer to his ultimate goal, an intercontinental ballistic missile with a nuclear warhead capable of striking the mainland U.S. Is he there yet? Most analysts say no, but it's only a matter of time. We're seeing this frantic pace of testing, which means that Kim's arsenal is growing quickly and becoming more advanced. Right now, North Korea could launch a devastating strike with conventional weapons on highly populated areas like Seoul or maybe even Tokyo. And soon, those missiles, perhaps with nuclear tips, will be able to go even further and with greater accuracy. Even if North Korea will never match the firepower of the U.S., they have the potential to kill a lot of people and do a lot of damage if they ever feel cornered. Kim's government views these nuclear weapons as vital to their survival as a nation. I've been to North Korea many times, and many times their officials have told me they will not give up their nuclear weapons. Period.
So, North Korea has been claiming that they can strike the United States. And by the way, the clip I just played for you, it wasn't from some right-wing outlet that's pro-war, pro-warmongering, all right? It was from CNN, who you would think would be anti-war. They are left-wing. We all know that they are a left-wing rag in many cases, but this is both sides. Both sides see this. It is clear as can be. North Korea cannot be allowed to obtain intercontinental ballistic missiles. They cannot. They pose a serious threat to the United States. They pose a serious threat to anyone. I don't want to go to war with North Korea. I don't want to go to war with anyone. War is bad. War is bad. It might sound a little simplified, but war is bad. Okay? It's not a good thing for our government to kill people. I don't like that idea. And again, at the same time, when the government starts to identify threats and people become fearful, the populace is ever more willing to give up their liberty in order to achieve some kind of security. And the biggest threat that we face is not North Korea. It is not Vladimir Putin. It is not whatever's happening in Syria. It's not the war on terror. The biggest threat to America is governments, period. All governments. Our own government. Every government. What is government? It's a monopoly on force. Why would it be bad for us to continue to allow the government to have more power, violate the Constitution, trying to protect us from every little thing on the planet? And specifically, when we're talking about the war on terror, Look, and by the way, when I said that the greatest threats aren't these things, I'm not trying to take away how significant of a threat these things are. These external threats. They are significant, don't get me wrong. And North Korea cannot be allowed to get ICBMs. They just can't. But every single time that governments identify external threats, they look for ways that they can get stronger grip, not just on the external threat, but on the populace. They look at how they can turn it into an opportunity to take away your rights. So even Putin is concerned about the North Korean missile launch. Here's a clip. It's loading. Give me a second. Live radio.
In the past few minutes, the Russian President Vladimir Putin, who's currently on a visit to Beijing in China, has expressed concern about this. According to his spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, there is concern.
So apparently this latest missile landed 96 kilometers south of Russia. I'm sure that gives Vladimir Putin a bit of pause.
And that's been expressed, I'm reading from the statement now, about the escalation of tension, including in connection with the launch of the missile from North Korea. That's the brief statement that's been issued by the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov during a visit of Vladimir Putin to North Korea's main economic support and main ally, of course, China. Now, of course, this is an area where Russia has a long history of engaging in diplomacy to try and work out a solution, for instance, to the North Korean nuclear program. It was engaged in six-party talks that came to an end about a decade ago. And it's continually spoken to the United States and to Donald Trump, in fact, about the possibility and the need for the US and Russia to coordinate on this issue. And clearly from this statement from the White House, it looks like Washington also sees, and the White House of President Trump also sees Russia as an ally on this issue. And that will be music to the Kremlin's ears, because this is a matter of big international global diplomacy. And Putin, the Russian president, loves the idea of being a deal maker, a key player in those big key diplomatic problems in the world.
So, what can be done? I mean, what are we supposed to do here? Are we just supposed to bomb the ever-loving hell out of North Korea? And are there people responsible for this? Are we going back if we do this kind of nation-to-nation warfare? And make no mistake, we haven't done this in a long time. We haven't fought this kind of war in a long time. Granted, I mean, North Korea, obviously they cannot stand up to the might of the U.S. military. They just cannot. But make no mistake, there will be casualties on all sides. There'll be collateral damage. Are we going to go back to the days of like World War II when we're carpet bombing cities to try to make the government itself lose its taste for the war? Are we going to try to kill and actually target civilians? Nah, I don't think that we should do that. I think that we're not at that desperate moment. And I hear people talking about how we should nuke North Korea. First of all, let's just point out, you don't need a nuke to take out nukes, okay? You don't have to nuke a nuclear site to disable it. We could hit it with conventional weapons, but that's kind of jumping the gun right now. I definitely think we need to garner some more international support. I definitely like the idea that Putin is concerned about this. I don't really like the idea of allying with him, but it's one of those things. You keep your friends close, and you keep your enemies closer. I like the idea of working with other governments on the problem of North Korea. I like the idea of trying to solve it diplomatically. It just doesn't seem to me that North Korea is willing to allow any kind of concessions on this. They seem to be in a dead sprint, a scramble to get this technology before they are stopped. And I warn you, Iran is watching. Other despots around the world are watching. They realize what the possession of a nuclear weapon just does. Just the fact that somebody has a nuclear weapon changes the way that the United States deals with them. Why haven't we invaded North Korea? It's because of nukes. Because they have nukes. Kim Jong-il? I think is his name? Or Kim Jong-un. I get those two confused. I think it's Un. Kim Jong-un. He's right in that the possession of nukes is what is essentially keeping the survival of that regime. Not North Korea, but the regime. Because we don't have any problems with North Korean people. In fact, I feel terrible for the North Korean people. The citizens are forced to submit to a man that thinks himself a god. It's unbelievable. Some of these people believe it. Some of them, I'm sure, don't. But the kind of poverty that they live in, thanks to this communist dictator, thanks to this savage who's willing to kill his own family just to maintain his power. Sick. It's just sick. There's something wrong with this bunch of inbred Kims. I don't understand how anyone could so blindly follow this. However, I didn't grow up in that society. I was never spoon-fed the religion of the Kims. So I can never really put myself in that position. And this is something that I've been giving a lot of thought lately. I want you all to take a few moments here to just wonder what it would be like to have been born not just somewhere else, but to have been born not American. All right? Not in that you have all this freedom and in comparison to other people you can do and say things that other countries don't allow their citizens to do. But I want you to imagine what it would be like to live in, let's say, Kazakhstan. All right? And you imagine your life in Kazakhstan. Who would you be? And what would you think of the United States? What would you think of the United States' actions lately? What would you think about Donald Trump? What would you think about the American people? Do you think you'd think fondly of us? Do you think you'd even have an opinion? I don't have an answer for you. I'm asking you. But what would you think? I know what I think. But I just think that it would be a completely different experience being on the other side. And I think we should be mindful of that. Look, I don't want us to be an oppressive force around the world. I don't want us to police the world. I don't want us to have to stop people from using chemical weapons. I don't want us to say, you can be in power because you're our puppet, or to overthrow you because you won't sell your oil in U.S. dollars. I think the fact that we have this liberty, what little we still actually have left, I mean, in comparison to the founding, we have ceded quite a bit of our sovereignty to the federal and state governments, but still, we are still the freest country on earth. Somehow. But I think that we should be focusing on the people of other countries, and instead of trying to hold down their governments, to try to control them, to try to export quote-unquote democracy, because we're not a democracy, we're a constitutional republic, as I've said millions of times here, maybe 1,000,001. But instead of trying to export it through government, why don't we export the philosophy of freedom to the people? why don't we try to actually talk about what it means to be free? What is freedom? What is this thing called liberty? What does it mean to have self-determination, to own yourself, and to be in control of your own destiny, win or lose? What does it mean, and why is it superior? Because it's verifiable. There has been no other form of government that has lifted more people out of poverty. There's been no other form of economic system. Capitalism is the top dog, verifiably. And the future is bright. The future can be so bright. But we have to look at ourselves, and we have to look at our neighbors. Not just locally, but globally. And try to not force them to do things our way, but show them that our way's better. I mean, hell, look at China. China wasn't working until they turned to capitalism. And it's just a different kind of capitalism. I mean, it's still very, very restricted, but they have elements of capitalism, and that's how China has grown to be such a strong power, is that they have turned toward capitalism, and their people are learning from this, and their people are going to be demanding more of this. Capitalism is such a innovative thing. A Bill of Rights preventing the government from restricting on basic human rights. Our Bill of Rights, arguably the greatest document ever written. Now, it's been walked on, trampled upon, shredded, digested, and then regurgitated, and this is what we have. We've had Supreme Court justices completely rewriting it, rewriting laws from the bench. But yet this document still is the best document ever written. It has stood the test of time to this day, even though it's been massively eroded. It's allowing us right now to have this conversation. Not that it gave us any rights, but it restrains the government from holding us back. Restrains the government from getting between me and you. So, I think that it's important that in our daily lives here, we talk about and really think about things from a philosophical perspective of liberty. All right? When you think about the government passing a law, think about it in terms of are they stopping somebody who's not hurting anybody or stealing their stuff? If they are, it's probably not a good law. We should talk about that. You should think about that. Try to figure it out, and we should try to export that philosophy, not that form of government, that philosophy, to other nations. And we should try to talk with our neighboring countries. We should definitely try to strengthen alliances. I don't want us to get too tied up with other nations, but I still do support NATO. In that I think that without it, it will definitely create a power vacuum, and Vladimir Putin would gladly fill that void. I think if we withdrew out of NATO, that he'd be sopping up these Western European countries. So I don't think that we should be leaving NATO, but we should be careful about who we are allied with in regards to NATO. We should perhaps be looking at the membership of NATO again, and perhaps honestly, I don't think that we should be allied with Turkey at all. At least not strategically allied. I like them as trade partners. I don't want to stop trading with them. I don't want to go to war with them. Certainly, I don't want to make them enemy. But I do not think that we should be in alliances where if somebody is attacked, we have to attack. We have to come to their aid with people that I don't think necessarily like us, and don't have the same interest. I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, we got more show in store for you. We're going to cut to a commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about North Korea, and then I want to dive into this Mark Zuckerberg voicing his support for the universal basic income. I want to talk about what is the universal basic income and give you my thoughts on it. I got the article here about Mark Zuckerberg. So you guys don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Have you visited the On the Move with Mack Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our homepage. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bare Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our homepage. Your purchases will help make the On the Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On the Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III.
Heck no, we're back. All right, here we go. So, I got an article here from the telegraph.co.uk. North Korea missile test passes re-entry in breakthrough for nuclear program. And by the way, I think it's so funny how they spell program over there in the UK. They put an extra M and then an E at the end of it. And hilarity ensues. Anyway, okay, so let's read the article by Julian Ryle. This article is dated 20 May 2017. The ballistic missile launched by North Korea on May 14th successfully re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, according to an analyst, a significant breakthrough for Pyongyang's missile program. Defense officials in South Korea and the U.S. have confirmed that the launch of the liquid fuel Hwasong-12 was a success. North Korea claimed that the weapon reached an altitude of 2,111.5 kilometers. That's 1,312 miles for everybody on standard measurements, and traveled a distance of 489 miles before breaching Japan's air defense identification zone and splashing down in the Sea of Japan. Excuse me. The missile took a steep parabolic route that tested its ability to survive re-entry into the atmosphere, with North Korean state media reporting that the missile, capable of carrying a large-size, heavy nuclear warhead to target on the U.S. mainland, had come through the worst re-entry situation and struck its intended target. That claim was confirmed by South Korean government sources who told the Junang Daily that analysis of data communication from North Korea's Missile Control Center confirmed the warhead survived the 5,000 degrees Celsius, which is 9,032 degrees Fahrenheit, and extreme vibration it experienced on re-entry. U.S. defense officials have similarly confirmed to NBC News that the test was a success, Analysts have long considered the largest challenges to North Korea's ballistic missile program to be achieving re-entry and miniaturizing a nuclear warhead to enable it to be mounted on a missile. The Hwasong-12 weapon is an intermediate range missile, and experts suggest it will take around 3 years for the technology to be applied to an intercontinental ballistic missile capable of striking the mainland U.S., although it is clearly a major step toward that goal. After numerous test launches, North Korean scientists have already mastered long-range guidance and control capabilities, while a series of underground tests have demonstrated that the regime of Kim Jong-un has acquired nuclear weapons. As a result of the latest North Korean tests, U.S. authorities have decided to extend the deployment of the USS Carl Vinson and its strike group in the Sea of Japan. Fleet, described as an armada by President Donald Trump, was due to depart from the region after the USS Ronald Reagan, another aircraft carrier, completed a refit at the U.S. Naval Base at Yokosuka. Sorry, I can't say that. Japan. The USS Ronald Reagan put to sea on May 16th, and 2 strike groups are now scheduled to carry out maneuvers with South Korean warships in the coming weeks. So let's go ahead and wrap up this North Korean talk. Let me just say, I hope that we can find a diplomatic solution, and I hope that sanctions may work. I typically don't think that these are really effective to an enemy with resolve, and let's say adversary with resolve. Although I think enemy probably fits the bill when we're talking about the North Korean government. Again, let's make sure we distinguish a difference between the government of North Korea and the people of North Korea. Now, earlier I was saying that we should be exporting our philosophy of freedom. And this philosophy, it's not something that we're necessarily going to have to be airdropping pamphlets across the border of North Korea, although I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea. I think it's actually a phenomenal idea. If we can just drop leaflets about what it means to be free to the people of North Korea, and tell them why it's better for than what they're getting. Somewhat of a propaganda campaign for liberty, a freedom propaganda, so to speak. So I think that's a great idea. However, no matter what government is in power now, no matter what oligarch, dictator, no matter what despot is behind the wheel of their particular machine of tyranny, it's getting harder and harder for these people to keep information in and stop keeping information from getting inside to their people and stop information from getting out. It's just becoming so hard because everything is digital now. Everything is connected. It's so easy to get information, and it's getting harder and harder for them to stop you. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. Technology is going to either spread our philosophy or it's going to spread something else. And I think that we need to be on board here. We need to be on board with this technological revolution that we're about to be experiencing in the next 10, 15 years. The world is going to look so different. Borders are going to be redrawn. Hell, they're already being redrawn in Syria. The world is changing. It's an amazing time to be alive. It truly is. I speaking of this subject, I used to really think that it would be an amazing time to be alive during the American Revolution, and I wish that I could have been a part of that. Not for fame or fortune or anything like that. I just wish that I could have been a fly on the wall witnessing this happen, being able to watch the current events and find out what's happening. But now is a better time to be alive. We're entering into a period where we're either going to reawaken and find this path towards a more perfect union, or we're going to be facing some really hard times. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't have a crystal ball. Can't predict the future. But I think regardless of what happens, we're in for a rocky road. But I think it's, at this point, I've been so, pessimistic about people in the past. I think maybe I wasn't giving people enough credit. I just think it's so easy for people to be apathetic, to be blissfully ignorant. And I think the nature of people is to look for somebody to solve their problems. I think the vast majority of us are just tired of dealing with things, and you don't want to follow this in the news. It's always bad. There's never anything good. But I do think that dramatic change and the chaos that it brings with it, it's going to be a major opportunity for us. And I think it's going to bring forth some really bad dudes. But at the same time, I do think that the really good people are going to stand up and say no. And this always happens. This always happens. America, I think it was Winston Churchill who said, America can be counted on to do the right thing after they've exhausted every other option or something like that. I'm paraphrasing roughly. But it's true that this culture, our society, we are unique. And not because of us as people. I mean, not because of our mentality or anything like that. But we have tasted this freedom. We've drank from the cup of liberty. We know what it's like. People who came here originally, they came here to get away from tyranny. They wanted to escape tyranny. Many of them came for religious liberty. Some people just wanted to be able to get away from oppressive governments. Find a new life for themselves. Strike out. Forge their own path. And I think if any bad dudes do pop up, and many will and are, I think it's only a matter of time until good people stand up. And I think we're saturated with good people. Right now they're just quiet. Many of them. But I can promise you that the heroes of tomorrow are here today. I'm just wondering if that's you. Anyway, we're going to cut to a commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk about universal basic income and Mark Zuckerberg's comments on him. I have an article I'm going to read. I'm going to talk to you about that. Feel free if you want to join today's conversation. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, gripes, complaints, anything like that, please give us a call. The number of the show is 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. We'll be right back.
Have you visited the On the Move with Mack Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our homepage. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bare Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our homepage. Your purchases will help make the On The Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On The Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
This is Dan Sandini of DaylightDisinfectant.com, citizen journalist, friend of the late Andrew Breitbart, and cohort of James O'Keefe. I listen to On the Move with Mack Worley because the only time he's wrong is when he disagrees with me.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Welcome to On the Move.
Welcome back. All right, let's go ahead and dive right back into one of our featured topics here. Mark Zuckerberg just voiced his support for universal basic income. So, what is universal basic income? Well, they're talking about actually just giving people money. Everybody, all of us, just give them money. And this is the thought, because they think that the future, this is going to be required because there's just not going to be any jobs. There's going to be no jobs. The computers are going to take all of our jobs. These freaking computers. Darn it. Here's a report. This is a side track here, just a report. BBC.com. Automation poses a high risk to 1.2 million Scottish jobs, report says. So the Institute for Public Policy Research Scotland said 46% of jobs, about 1.2 million, were at high risk of automation in the period up to 2030. 2030. Huh. Now, that's not that far away. 2030 may seem like the future, you know, beep, boop, 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 flying cars and all that stuff. It may seem like, you know, like some kind of date that Back to the Future would have plugged in, and, you know, we're going to go 88 miles per hour, that kind of thing. No, we're actually closer now to 2030 than we are to 9/11/2001. Think about that. That's insane. And I want you to think about how many things have changed now. How many things will change in the future. Of course, jobs are going to get taken over by machines. Of course, there is going to be major upheaval in our economy in regards to, you know, this massive shift from people doing low-skilled labor jobs. That's going to happen. But you know what else is also going to happen? Our education system is going to change. The way that we train people to work is going to change. And what's also going to happen is that there's going to be new jobs that will be created. There'll be jobs that are set up to fix the machines when they break. There'll be jobs that will be for programming the machines. There'll be entirely new jobs created that have nothing to do with the old jobs whatsoever. There'll be things that we can't possibly predict. I want you to imagine trying to explain or predict an iPhone to somebody 30 years ago. Wouldn't even have a concept of what you could do with that. So many things are going to change. Some good, some bad. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. But a lot of people are going to find other jobs. And you're going to find ways to retrain. You're going to find ways to refit yourself into the job market. But people are saying now that you're going to need universal basic income. So this week, Mark Zuckerberg spoke to the latest class of Harvard graduates, offering advice about the future and inspiration to grow on. Among his ideas was the notion that universal basic income, a standard-based salary for each member of society that can help meet our basic needs regardless of the work we do, is worth exploring. UBI pilot programs are sprouting up all over the world, including one in Oakland, California, sponsored by Y Combinator. Many are modeled in part after the state of Alaska's long-term permanent fund, which distributes a dividend to every resident so they can share the wealth gleaned from the state's natural resources equally. While the successfulness of such initiatives can be analyzed several different ways, Zuckerberg emphasized to graduates the need for metrics that go deeper than standard economic measures, metrics that can help foster innovation. He says, we should have a society that measures progress not just by economic metrics like GDP, but by how many of us have a role we find meaningful. Zuckerberg told Harvard graduates and their guests, we should explore ideas like universal basic income to make sure everyone has a cushion to try new ideas. Wouldn't that be nice just to have a little cushion? Just a little cushion, everybody. That's all it is. It's a cushion. Look, if you don't know where I stand on this already, I will tell you I'm adamantly against this. First of all, I'm against redistribution of wealth, taking money from one person and giving it to another. There is literally no way that you can do this without redistribution of wealth. Literally no way. I'm not speaking parabolically here. I'm not speaking in any kind of rhetoric. There's no way that you can give every citizen money without taking a crap load of money from people who are producing, people who are actually making money, and most likely providing jobs. And even if they're not directly employing somebody, if they are making money, that means they have money, which means they're spending money, which means that the money that they're spending is going towards the employment of other people. It's a basic trickle-down economics theory. It's legitimate. It works. You know, maybe Scrooge McDuck might have this big, vast money vault where he rolls around in. He's hoarding all this money. But you know what? He also has a sports car. He's got Italian suits. He's got a yacht. He's got maids. He's got butlers. He's, buying all sorts of cognac like Kim Jong-il. And by the way, Kim Jong-il used to be the largest importer of cognac in the world. FYI, while all of his people were, going blind from starvation. But I digress. Rich people don't just hoard their money. They spend their money. They spend it wildly in some cases. And what does that money do? Does it just disappear when somebody spends it? Is it just gone? It's like they burn it up? No, it goes into other hands. Other people have that money. So if you start taking away rich people money, rich people won't have money to spend. Or they maybe they'll still have some money, but maybe they don't have the desire to spend it in those ways. You disincentivize them to spend. I don't think this kind of program is going to work. I don't think that it's even remotely the same as Alaska's permanent fund because they're taking oil revenue and they're spreading it around to their people. First of all, I'm not a fan of that program in the first place. I like the whole idea of privatizing everything and letting people keep their profit. That's my opinion. Happen to think that's the most free way to do things. But universal basic income, he's talking about how this could give people a meaningful role, allow them to explore new areas, give them a cushion to try out new ideas so that they can find a meaningful role in their life. Well, first of all, let me just say, it is not government's responsibility to worry about whether or not you are finding meaning in your life. That's absolutely not the government's job. The government's 3 jobs. They have 3 jobs. Did you know that? That the government only has 3 jobs and that's it? What's the first one? To protect life. That's the first role. To protect liberty. That's a second. To protect property. That's it. There's no back of the page, number 4 through 10. None of that. Protect life, liberty, and property. Where does it say anything about ensuring you have meaning in your life or giving you a cushion to try new ideas so that you can then find the meaning in your life? No, not the job of government. Now, let me just say, if Mark Zuckerberg is willing to foot the bill for this UBI for every citizen in America, providing us with a basic income, if he feels that strongly, why don't you foot the bill, Mr. Zuckerberg? Oh no? No, oh yeah, because it's so much easier to spend other people's money, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, weird how that works out, right? Let me just say, this program will not help foster innovation. This program will help stifle innovation, smother innovation. And as far as finding meaning in your life, this will take all meaning out of many lives. There will be some people who won't do anything knowing that they don't have to do anything. This will take people who would have worked, people who would have out of necessity gone out and been productive, gained skills, learned things, grown as a person, created things, used their mind, looked out in the world and saw where they could do things, saw how they can make things better. The only thing that fosters innovation is free will. That's it. Because I can't make you invent something. I can't force you to come up with the next big thing. No one can. Government can't make it happen. No one can. But you. You're the only one. Every single individual has that ability. And it serves us best, allowing individuals to assert their free will, to find out what is within their own self-interest. I got a problem. How can I solve it? Oh, like that. You know what? I can make money off of this. Other people might have the same problem. Let me create a product and see if somebody wants to buy it. And okay, that person want to do it. Let me make more and try to sell that. And this is how it works. None of this happens from the government. The government doesn't make anything. All the government does is steal your wealth. Sometimes they pocket it. Sometimes it gets lost in transit from A to B, from your pocket to wherever it was supposed to go, and it's lying in some government politician's pocket, or maybe it's going into some black budget op or something that you didn't know about. In many cases, it's just going to some other guy. You don't know him. You don't owe him anything. Yet they're entitled to your money, your property. I could have sworn that the third reason why government was created in this country was to protect property. Well, but wait a second, it's my property. Why are you taking it and giving it to that guy? When the government acts outside of the reasons it was created, it bastardizes itself. So, I think that this UBI, it's gonna keep gaining steam, gonna keep going further. I think a lot of people are going to, if they just get an income, and right now they're saying, it's not going to be enough to where you can just not work. Right now, it's not going to be enough, so you won't have to work. But as all things go with government, they'll expand. And eventually, the people who are actually going to work, the people who are producing, are going to be getting so drained by this program, and eventually they're going to realize, hey, why am I doing all this? Why am I working so hard and building this stuff? What am I doing here? I'm not actually getting to keep any of my profits. I'm not getting to keep what I've toiled so hard for. And eventually, we might get to the point where they decide to just quit and stop innovating. Or maybe they'll move somewhere else and leave Americans behind. Look, I'm not here to tell you that the future is going to be peachy keen. But I am here to tell you that where there's a will, there's a way. You ever heard that saying? It's true. I just keep hearing things come popping into my head here. The old sayings that we all know. Where there's a will, there's a way. Necessity is the mother of invention. We're going to figure it out. Everything's going to be okay. I don't want you to worry. I want you to be so excited about what the future will bring and be ready for the bad times. Just in case. Just in case. I hope you've taken the my warning seriously about prepping. I hope you've taken time to think about what would you do in these scenarios? What would you do if you lost your job to automation? What would you do if suddenly the U.S. dollar collapsed, which is, I think, still a very real possibility. I've been saying summer 2018. That's probably what I would guess if we're looking at a collapse. It could be sooner. It could be tomorrow. It could be in 10 years. All right? I don't know. Again, no crystal ball here. I just think that the way things are escalating, and they are escalating, the world is on fire. We are in chaos. And nations around the world are starting to turn on America. And not necessarily, because they aren't necessarily wrong to do so, I suppose. Like, I'm not a self-hating liberal here. I'm a classic liberal in that sense, but not a modern liberal, so to speak. But we've had kind of a, sporadic foreign policy. We have to get to the point where we restrain the federal government to the point where it doesn't matter who is the president. And I've been a advocate. I don't hear anybody else advocating for this, by the way, but it's probably because it will never ever happen. But I think it would be a much better situation to have more than just one president. I like the idea of 3 presidents. That way we can have a check and balance within the executive branch itself. I'd like the ability for any kind of like executive order or something, you have to have 2 of the 3 signatures of the president and things like that. I like the idea of a super majority having to make these kind of executive decisions. It's very rare when we actually have the kind of urgency that we require just one person to go it alone. Very, very rare indeed. I mean, you're talking about situations that are essentially wartime decisions. Although it seems like everything nowadays is a wartime decision. We're currently, what is this, our longest war we've ever had? The war on terror, the never-ending war on terror. It's not going to go away, FYI. The jihadis aren't going to change their mind anytime soon about, wanting to kill us, wanting to enslave our women, wanting to engulf the world in Sharia law. They're not going to change their mind on that. And our government is certainly not going to abandon that fight. But the future's yet to be written. We have the ability to control our own decisions, our own actions. We can't control the rest of the world. All we can do is make ourselves more able to withstand any storms to come, and make sure that we keep our options open for any opportunity that we may have. Because things are changing, and they're going to change quickly. One day you're going to wake up, and everything's going to be different. I promise you. one day you're going to turn on the news and your whole world will have been pulled out from underneath you. And you're going to be looking at things, and it's going to be frightening. But we need to keep our heads, we need to stay cool. We need to have a plan. And we just need to be ready and enthusiastic about what we can do. We need to foster the innovation that we'll need to get through that time. But the only way that we can do that is by letting people serve their own interests, respecting free will and self-determination. But, and with that said, let's go to our last featured topics. Government is the source of most of our problems. Right now, we're so concerned about U.S. hegemony. We want to continue to oppress the rest of the world down, all right? And not necessarily in a bad way, I guess. How do I phrase this? We want to be in control of things that we want. Obviously, like oil. All right? Why do we care about the Middle East? It's because the Middle East has oil. That's why. If they didn't have oil, we wouldn't care. If you disagree with me on that, I think you might want to revisit that. Saudi Arabia, why do we care about Saudi Arabia? Well, they sell their oil in U.S. dollars, and because of that, we look the other way on how they oppress their people. Look, I think we're getting past the point here very soon. Very, very soon. You don't even know how soon we're going to be to the point where we will not need oil to fuel our nation. I'm sure we'll still use it in other ways. I mean, hell, it's used in every damn thing around here. I mean, this table I have my computer on. It has oil in it. Every product within my view here has oil. If it's plastic, it has oil in it, FYI. It's a petroleum-based product. Oil ain't going away, at least not anytime soon. But there's going to be other things that we can use to fuel our vehicles, to power our homes. There's going to be lots of other options when it comes to energy. Fossil fuels are just the stepping stone that we needed to get to that point. And the reason why we're so concerned and we get involved in these foreign wars, and again, I mentioned earlier, I want you to imagine yourself growing up as an Afghan, that you grew up in Afghanistan, all right? And I want you to, first of all, the people that were around there during the Iraqi war and stuff, the kids growing up, I'm not necessarily making any excuse for them if they decided to join ISIS here. I'm absolutely not. In fact, I condemn that. But the actions that we've taken by trying to control this monopoly, by trying to claim this area as U.S. protected territory, essentially as an area where you're going to do what we tell you to do, as an area that we're trying to assert our dominance and keep out the other people who would like to do that as well. I mean, because this is one of the reasons why we do this, is because we don't want Russia there, we don't want China there, we want to have access to the oil. That's it. But imagine yourself as an Afghani. How do you think, even if you're not a radical jihadist, how do you think you would look at the United States? I'm sure they have some legitimate gripes. We have bombed a lot of people, and there's been collateral damage, no doubt. Yeah, we try to prevent that, but our politics has also made us scatterbrained on what we're doing here. We're here to help. Oh, we're pulling out. Oh, maybe we're going to come back. Oh, we'll bomb this. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? And I'm sure these people are tired of us being involved in their nation. I think, honestly, oil is the worst thing that's happened to the Middle East. If it wasn't for oil, I think they'd be a lot better off, honestly. But the reason why we're so focused in that area is oil. And if it wasn't for the government trying to secure this and being so worried about this, we wouldn't be involved in these wars. We wouldn't care what's going on. The wealth of these nations probably wouldn't be what they are. Terrorist organizations over there wouldn't be so well funded. They also, if we weren't involved over there, they wouldn't be looking at us as their primary target. They'd be worried about their own local things. They'd be too busy fighting amongst themselves to turn their direction our way. Personally, I think that in regards to the Middle East, I think we need to get the hell out. I've said this before. I think we need to stay out of the Middle East unless they pose a direct threat to the United States or our allies. If you can't justify how they're a direct threat, I don't think we should be there, boots on the ground. Now, I have no problem, absolutely no problem bombing the ever-loving hell out of ISIS. If you see a target of opportunity, blow it up. I also think that it's really important that we don't allow potential terrorists into our nation. I think that we should be vetting people very strongly. I think we should also consider extending that vetting to places where potential terrorists might be coming from. So, I think it's kind of important to point out that this big massive immigration here from Syria and all sorts of other places in the Middle East to Europe is something that we should be very concerned about, because they are facing right now. You've heard of the Manchester attack the other day at the Ariana Grande concert. This stuff is not going away over there. And I am certain that in the future, Europe is going to be experiencing some major political upheaval because of these attacks. They're going to continue. They're going to be relentless. And they're not going to stop. They're just not going anywhere. According to hotair.com, here's an article. There are 23,000 jihadists living in Britain. 23,000. Ben Wallace at the UK Security Ministry told the Times that the existence of a database of 23,000 potential attackers was a stark illustration of the magnitude of the terrorist threat. The figures reveal the scale of the challenge from terrorism in the 21st century. He said, never has it been more important to invest in intelligence lead producing. So MI5 is limited right now to investigating about 3,000 individuals at any one time, and they're obviously getting overwhelmed with this. This is going to be a problem. I think, and I've said before, we should implement the Fabian Strategy. If you're not familiar with the Fabian Strategy, I highly recommend that you do a quick Google search on the Fabian Strategy. It's ancient Rome. It's a tactic used by I can't remember the guy's name, Fabian something, Flavius something, some Roman name. And it happened during, I think it was the Second Punic War, if I'm remembering that right. So the Carthaginians were basically engaging in somewhat of an insurgency. They had an army. They were marching around, attacking a bunch of people, and essentially the Romans decided that they would just scorch the fields, get rid of all the supplies that this army could live off of, and they went inside and stayed behind their walls. And I would like to implement somewhat of a variation on this. I think that we shouldn't be putting boots on the ground overseas. To to combat terrorism. Unless it's like small strike forces with very specific goals, or even large strike forces with very specific goals that they're intending to get in and out rather quickly. But I don't agree with trying to nation build. I think what we ought to be doing is attacking targets of opportunity and trying to control and isolate the borders around dangerous territories, around territories that are claimed by terror organizations. And I happen to think it's a great opportunity to allow them go from a asymmetric warfare style of insurgencies to a symmetric warfare of trying to actually claim territory. Because that allows them to create big, beautiful targets for us to bomb. And as long as they're worried about, trying to get bombed by the United States, or if we keep trying to shut them down when we have opportunities, taking out key targets. I think that will be a good thing, but at the same time, we also have to win the hearts and minds. The same campaign, and this is exactly what I've been saying from the beginning of this episode. People are responsible for their own governments. We need to, again, engage this propaganda of freedom. Explain our freedom. Explain why it's better, why it works out well, and convince the people, the good people around the world, to stand up for their own liberty and shake off their oppressors. The reason why we have so much poverty right now, we're not impoverished. In fact, let me just point out that even the most impoverished of us is still within the 1% of the global population. Even the poorest among us have an Obama phone, and they have a home with light bulbs that actually turn on. Many of us, anyway, most of us. You're going to get a next meal. The vast majority of us know where they're going to get their next meal from. The fact that the government says that they're going to take care of you, you should be worried. You should be very worried. As Ronald Reagan said, you should be worried anytime somebody says, I'm with the government and I'm here to help. Because the problems that they try to solve are usually solvable without them. They're also usually usually created by the government itself. So the war on terror being solved by the government, created in part. Obviously, the people are responsible for their own actions. Again, terrorists are responsible for joining these terror groups. But the government, in trying to secure this oil, has made this problem, this jihadi problem, worse. When it comes to poverty, the war on poverty has only perpetuated poverty. The war on drugs has only made drugs more available than they've ever been. The war on drugs argued that we have to stop people from getting drugs because there's so much crime surrounded by drugs. Crime and drugs go hand in hand. Well, the war on drugs has only ensured that our cities are freaking hellholes like Chicago that have unbelievable murder rates, have dozens of shootings in a day. And why? Because of drugs. Not because of drugs' existence, but because drugs are illegal. And people are fighting over these illegal drugs and territory and money. Have you ever seen Pepsi and Coca-Cola engage in drive-by shootings at each other? No. You ever seen Apple and Windows start, assassinating key leaders inside these organizations? No. You want to know why? Because it's legal. What they're doing is legal. They have a recourse if somebody wrongs them. When you're talking about gangs and drugs, if somebody gets held up for their drugs, if they're a drug dealer, they get held up for their drugs, what are they going to do? They're going to call the police? If they're a really stupid criminal, probably. But it's not going to help them. They're not going to get their drugs back. How do they get their drugs back? Well, they have to engage in violence to get their drugs back. Prohibition is a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. Governments create more problems than they solve. You should look at government, as has been said by our founders, like fire. It's dangerous. You should have a healthy fear and respect for it. And I don't mean a respect as far as reverence. I mean a respect as far as what it can do. I think it's time that we start chipping away. We start walking up the rhetorical treadmill. Escalator. And I think that we should be looking towards right now the Convention of the States. I think this is one excellent way that we can restore the Constitution. But I'll talk to you more about that next week. That's our show for today. I really appreciate you all tuning in, and I'm so happy that you spent this Sunday with me. I know you have a lot of options out there when it comes to things to listen to, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to tune in today. If you like today's show, please smash the like button on whatever platform you're on. I would certainly appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends and family. Talk about somebody who may appreciate it or may not. And anyway, don't forget to check us out on our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. Click the shop link. We got lots of products on there for you to check out if you're interested. Got T-shirts, hoodies, phone cases, coffee mugs, all with designs made for you. And don't forget to follow us on Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. Like us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. Subscribe to us on YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. And you do not want to miss that, because that's going to be the big change in the future. We're going to be doing live video streaming from there. And if you want to take a look at my ugly mug, you'll have every opportunity to do so. So, also, don't forget to follow us or tweet at us on Twitter @OnTheMoveShow. Anyway, that's our show. I certainly appreciate you tuning in. And as always, know your rights, assert your rights, and get on the move.